If ever a country adopted the bagpipe as its own, it must surely be Canada, where nearly every Scottish regiment is represented, and whose record during the war is testament to their bravery. Perhaps the heroism of James Richardson of the 16th Canadian Scottish, winning his Victoria Cross at Regina Ridge, best illustrates the Canadian spirit. 18-year-old Piper Richardson played his company to the attack until stopped by wire entanglements, but he continued playing for 20 minutes in face of certain death while the wire was cut. He was killed later that day, rescuing a wounded comrade.
I got my Victoria Cross. I had a gun. I had a machine gun, and Mr. Richardson had a set of pipes. I don't know where the comparison is, but he had to have a lot of guts to get up there and play with all the bullets flying. And I think apparently he brought his men forward and up. But I would say this is beyond bravery. This is something I can't imagine at all.
Before an attack, pipers and soldiers waited in the assembly trenches, each man tense, silent with his own thoughts.
My first time in the line, you know what that means, in the line. First time in the line, and you know, you don't feel very too cheerful going in the first time, and going along, and suddenly I had the bagpipes. I wanted to get out of the bloody war right away. When they played the bagpipes, I felt like I could go through anything.
But the fact is it reaches down into something atavistic and basic in every man's feelings. It affects not only Scotsmen or Highlanders, who you naturally would expect to be affected by, but Yorkshiremen, Cockneys, soldiers from the west of England. They feel the same way. It lifts everybody out of themselves and makes them want to do well. It makes men feel brave.
The heroism of pipers during the war became legendary. One deed in particular saved the entire British line from collapse, earning the piper a Victoria Cross.
The incident which has impressed me most is that of Piper Daniel Laidlaw at the Battle of Loos in September 1915. Everything that could go wrong had gone wrong. The British had used gas for the first time, and the gas was blowing back over their own trenches. The guns had failed to cut the enemy wire. The German machine gunners had come up, and they had opened fire on our trenches. Daniel Laidlaw jumped out of the trench, up into the parapet. He blew up his bagpipes. He played All the Rue Bonnets Are Over the Border, the regimental march of the King's Own Scottish Borderers, and this steadied the 7th Battalion, and they went forward into the attack, showing the power of the pipes as the instrument of war.
At the Battle of the Somme, in July 1916, the casualties were enormous. 60,000 fell on the first day alone, making it the blackest day in British military history.
Whenever the captain gave the order to advance, we blew up the pipes and the men followed us.
Yes, I could hear the piper when I went over the top. But it didn't last long, and they were brave lads to do it. They had no gun, they just went over the pipes, because they were told to do it.
I had hundreds of tunes, and I'd played whatever had happened to come into my head, that's what I'd play.
Did you hear the light feet marching down the birch-clad glen? Did you see the piper's streamers floating far behind the men? Did you hear the brave tunes ringing as they swung the drones on high? Did you watch the rhythm of the kilt? Did you hear the war march die? An officer recalled, "I shall never forget those pipes." During the charge, a Gordon piper continued playing after he was down. O piper lads, what magic woven spell emerged and breathed within your reeds is not for mortal voice to tell. The wizard winds through reed and drone. The soul draws on to follow after, to splendid heights of hero fame, or spellbound, led to grim disaster.
We lost a lot of them. Lost a lot. Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Did you hear the brave tunes ringing as they swung the drones on high? Did you watch the rhythm of the kilt? Did you hear the war march die?